Good evening, Geetha Kannan, my good friend. It's a privilege for me to introduce Geetha Kannan. So, just a brief on her. Geetha Kannan is a versatile entrepreneurial leader and a pioneer for the women in IT movement in India. With over 30 years of global experience spanning business, technology, and people, her focus has always been to raise the bar, build teamwork, and drive far reaching impact. Geetha credits much of her progress to learning, opportunities, and a supportive environment and is compelled to make this as a norm for all women in technology. Geetha's vision is to holistically provide high quality, integrated, and accessible resources to expand equality of outcomes for women and their network supporters in technology. Geetha held senior leadership positions with Infosys and ANZ, where she powered these companies with technology interventions, innovative practices, and leadership development. With her entrepreneurial gene fueled in 2013, Geetha moved to head anitaB.org in India and grew the enterprise many-fold in 6 years from less than 500 to 5,500 plus coverage of women in IT, and they had less than 10 technical organization participating. She moved it to 400 plus organization participating in a single city to pan India, impacting women in technology movement throughout the country. Uh, there are a lot more things to speak about Geetha. To just talk about her background, she is a BCom and an MBA graduate, gold medalist from Bharatiyar University, and subsequently a trained software professional. Geetha has consistently dedicated herself to being progressive and adding value to all stakeholders. She is a big believer in the power of technology and community-led efforts. Being ambitious and decisive, yet balanced and nurturing, aids her innate mentoring style, and many strata of leadership have benefited from over the years. Today, we are extremely fortunate to have Geetha with us, and she is going to speak to us on Unearth the Unknown, Tapping Your Inner Potential. The title looks very, very interesting. I am waiting to hear from you, Geetha. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sujata. As always, you are very kind. Sujata has been a strong supporter from the very time I stepped out of my comfort zone in 2013. So she's, as she said, a very close friend and somebody whose guidance and um, support I really, really appreciate. So when I was asked to, talk on any subject that related to the conference, I was thinking, what is it that would, appeal to even a student, a women technologist, or even a women entrepreneur? What is that thing that would even, irrespective of who you are, what is it that you would like to hear? And that's thanks to actually a team member of mine, we came up with this Unearth the Unknown. And you can see that I've taken a picture of a shovel that is digging into the ground, because what you see on the surface very often is not what and who you are. It's when you are really digging deep within you, you get to discover who you really are. And I'd like to start this by the recollection. I was actually talking to another group of women in another organization very recently, and we were talking a lot, of course, all of us are always worried about this virus and why we're working from home and how it's affecting us, how we're trying to balance all our schedules, how we're trying to get even groceries in time, feed everybody, just see how the kids have online classes. It's kind of messy. And so this lady was sharing this story with me about that she had actually taken her young daughter and dropped her off at her parents' place on the 1st of March. Just saying that just let her enjoy grandparents for about a couple of weeks, and she'd go on the 14th of March, pick her up, and then bring her back. And of course, a lot of things happened in between. I mean, there was no interstate travel, and lockdown happened. And unfortunately for her, husband who slipped down the stairs broke both his wrists. And she said, I used to drive a car when I was younger, but I never have driven much because, you know, you go to office by the company bus. And here I was, you know, with a husband whose both wrists are broken, and there's some way that I have to take him to the hospital. And she said she found this inner strength in her that made her, you know, be able to take him with all his pain into the car, take him to the hospital, know, you know, all those things. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all, and I don't want any of y'all to go through an hospital experience, but if you have, you know, you have to do all those insurance things and just, you know, lots of paperwork and a lot of running around if it's a large hospital. So she said, I never would have dreamt, if you had asked me about a couple of months back, could you have done this on your own? She said, I would say no. I would probably ask someone to come and help me. My brother lives about 2 kilometers down the road. I would have asked him to come and help me. I would have done that. But this time, because of the whole virus thing, she couldn't call anybody and she had to do what she had to do. And so she drew from her inner strength. And I think that's what we're going to draw from here. It's like we and all of us can't experience something that like she went through. We can't have broken wrists or hospital visits to tell us this is your inner potential and this is how you tap it. So we can't have such, you know, drastic ways to reach there. So what is the way? So I was thinking, like, is there an easy way to do this? And I was just making fun when I was trying to prepare for this presentation, saying that, you know, if you like circulate your finger like this 3 times, tap the middle of your forehead, and your inner potential is there. Did all of you all do that? And did you all get your inner potential? No? Well, that's true. Those kind of gimmicks don't get you your inner potential. That's true. But if you look at it and if you use your finger and you point like this, and if you have like a pointy thumb like mine, you'll see that even if I'm pointing at somebody, like if I'm pointing at my good friend Sujata, but then when I'm pointing at her, can you see that there are 3 fingers, right? And plus my thumb, which is a little bendy pointing back at me. And so the only key to tap your inner potential, there can be 1 or 2 people out there who will help you. There will be a few people in your community who will help you, who are part of your family who will help you. But in the end, a little bit of your thumb and the rest of those 3 fingers really point back at you. And so it's you who have to sit and look at who you are. And those of you who know me know that I love to read a lot. I do watch movies, and one of the things that movies that I like a lot is any of the animated movies that both DreamWorks and Disney produce, because they seem to be so rich in leadership lessons. And I try to see leadership lessons in everything that I look at. And so one of them is this whole thing of Kung Fu Panda. Um, I mean, it's a Chinese folk tale, and probably Chinese is a bad word at this point, but I really like it still, so I can't help but sharing this whole thing. So those of you who haven't had the chance to see Kung Fu Panda with your children or by yourself, it's one of the things in this whole thing is it's about a panda who then gets selected to be like the warrior, or they call it the dragon warrior. So he's like the ultimate warrior, and all the other people who are there are so versatile in kung fu. They've been studying for about decades, but this panda is just somebody who's been eating, sleeping, helping his dad make noodles, and he gets selected because there is something there called the inner potential. And throughout the movie, it's like him searching for it. He works hard at learning kung fu, everything, and he's given the dragon scroll, which you see there that he's holding, and that's supposed to have the secret as to what is needed for him to really tap his inner potential. And as I told you with my finger example, when he opened it, he was very surprised to see there was nothing in it. And it took him a little bit to realize that it's actually a reflection of himself. So what does it mean? Your inner potential can be tapped by you yourself. At the risk of giving too much, like sounding like I'm giving gyan, I'd like to like take you back to a little part when I first started working. And I found that when I was studying and when I finished my 12th standard, um, one of the uncles in our colony there had told me, oh, you finished your 12th with such good marks. You know what? You should just pick up a secretarial course and you should just become a secretary. And, the only industry in the location where I grew up was the tea industry. And he said that, one of the tea factories or even Brook Bond at that time could pick you up as a secretary. And he said, after 12th, please cut studying. There's no point. What's the point? But I think at that, when he told me that is when I realized in myself, I still know his name. And it made me realize that, listen, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be confined to a geography. I don't want to be confined to something that dictates because this is my gender. And so I actually opened my dragon scroll when that uncle spoke to me, and I found that there is much more in the world out there, and you won't believe the amount of options that I explored at that point of time, just because he told me, all you can do is be a secretary. I had another uncle who had a criminal practice, and he said, you know what, if you want, when you become a lawyer and when you complete your law, I will hand over this entire criminal practice to you. There was another person who was a chartered accountant. He was saying, I'm more than willing to take you, looking at my grade. So it was like this whole world opened up to me just because my dragon scroll was opened up by this uncle of mine who insisted I wanted to be a secretary. So if we're talking so much of potential and all that, so what is this potential? I mean, if you look at the bottom of my screen, you'll see it's just the ability that you have that's not yet developed, but is there in you, right? So, and that's so important because you think it's not there, but it's like that hidden dirt that you see when you dig with a shovel. It's there underneath. It reminds me of these famous stories where people go out to look for gold. And there's this wise old man who says there are three types of people in the world. The first kind actually goes there, finds gold, and that's it. They've made their life, they're comfortable, and they move on. Sometimes I feel like some people say that, you join IIT or you join Harvard, your life is made, you found your gold and you can move on, right? And the second kind of person is that who keeps digging and trying, and eventually might be at 40 or 50 also, but will eventually find gold. But then there's the third kind that get extremely frustrated and said, how long will I keep looking for this gold? And they then become a feather in the wind. They become an accident of life. They just coast from, one incident, one life, one day in their life to another day. And you've seen many of them. I'm sure if you really look back and people you've known in your life, you know those coasters. But I think the most important, according to the wise man, the most important is you have to keep on trying. You'll eventually get it. You'll get your gold in life. And that's untapping that potential, which you don't know is there. Like the lady who found out about, when her husband's wrist got thing, she had that potential to take out that car, to go there, manage everything on her own. So it's all there in you. And it's very important that you keep on trying how to do it. And I did show you about the key. So is there a key or a way to really find this inner potential? So if you look at it, here's this, my pyramid theory. This is my own theory. And I always say this, that it's, if you if your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like your food, clothing, shelter, is not taken care of, if I'm very hungry all the time, I don't think I can think much beyond it. And so one of the first basic things that all of us have to look at, and which is completely ignored sometimes, is our own well-being. Now, I have a cousin who lives in Cochin who said, you know what, with all this COVID thing happening and us not going out of the house, two things can happen. One is I will, you know, meet somebody, something will happen and I will get the virus and I will fall ill. So that's my physical well-being gone down the drain. But the other thing that could happen is I am becoming like such a maniac. I am why wash and scrub and clean and try to be as germ free and bacteria free as possible. I keep washing my hands before, I keep washing my hands after, in between, whatever, till all my hands are peeled, and I have to keep on applying coconut oil. So she says either, and then I might straight away go to Nimhan's because I'm or to a local mental institution because I've gone completely haywire. So this virus is not doing well for me. And so that's one of the things that has caught me saying that if you really want to be strong in these times, is you have to focus on your well-being. Whether it's your physical well-being and your mental well-being, please don't ignore the mental piece, because we are now confined. Some of us are confined to four walls. I know some of y'all who are teachers are allowed to go and to class, but you're still doing online classes and the students are not coming. But most of us are confined within four walls. We don't meet anyone else but our family if we're lucky. And if we're living in a place where we don't even have family, and it's just with two other roommates, it's like with them, or alone in a room by yourself, it's like quarantine to the worst kind of possible thing. And sometimes people, especially those who are so termed as extroverts, need that interaction. So if at any point you want to talk to people, I think I encourage you to look out for all your contacts that you've never met before. Try to call them up, have video calls, do whatever it takes to make sure your mental well-being is taken as much as your physical well-being. So once you've got your stable platform of the well-being ready, so what else can you do then? Is, of course, to look at yourself. And this is an inward reflection. But this is again my theory of my hands. You can't do this by yourself only, because sometimes you need the help of someone else, because some people can tell you very clearly where you are good at, and can help you find the path that you're not seeing so starkly in your face. I mean, if you're looking for that goal, they can tell you, listen, you're so good at interacting with people, you are so good at telling very clearly and logically how things benefit you, why can't you join sales? Right? You need someone else to tell you because you think you are logical. You can articulate everything well. Oh, I'll be an engineer, but that might not be exactly what you're looking for. So someone else can see that, and that's that finger that helps. So you can get that reflection from others, and of course, doing your own reflection. And thanks to having a psychology professional in my house, we are exposed to all these strength analysis. I think I've done enough to know, that there are many out there, and will, give you enough way to at least come out and say, this is the strength that you have. And it's up to you to then decide whether that's there or not. So the awareness of self is important in another aspect, is because do you want to really go that way? If you don't want to, you want to be a feather and get, let the wind blow you, you want to go the way the wind blows you, it's fine. It's just that you have to be aware that's the way that you're taking that path. And that comes to my third, pyramid, which says you have to set your goal. And, these can be long-term goals and short-term goals. I have a friend in the US whose children, grew up, they've gone, left their houses, nobody's at home. And she says, sometimes I struggle in the morning to get up because not that her physical well-being is an issue, it's because she says, what am I going to do with my day? the whole day stretches in front of me. I don't have a purpose in life. And that purpose is what I think is so important. And, you know, if you look in 2006, actually it was in 2004, Infosys asked me to join their Infosys Women's Network. And and I was fortunate enough to be in a time where there was hardly any discrimination between men and women in the workplace. So I was thinking, why do we need this Infosys Women's Network for us? I mean, I am fine. But then I joined, and I heard all the stories that people are talking about. Small things like if you've had a baby, the project manager doesn't give you any you know, really fantastic assignments. The person gives it to someone else because they say, you have a baby, you can't manage it. And that's just an assumption, because this person saying, even if I had the baby, but it's such a fantastic project experience, I will somehow manage it. I will get help from someone. I will make sure that the baby is well taken care of, and I will also manage that project. But it's just automatically assumed. And so I was exposed to a lot of unconscious biases in the workplace. And I was like, oh, there seems to be serious issues here. And that's when it hit me in 2006. I said, okay, let's have a conference only dedicated for women in tech, which was sponsored by Infosys at that time. And that conference was very interesting because we got about little less than 100, about 99 people on, that came from Electronic City, but none of them came from the Infosys competitors. So my chairman at that time was Narayana Murthy, told me, you know what, nobody will come if you're calling them as an Infosys person, because you have to call them only if you are not attached to a particular company. So of course, I mean, because he had all the contacts, we got through to NASSCOM, and then NASSCOM's diversity initiative took off, and for which I was also a committee member to help them start it. But it just told me at that point, I think, like that's my purpose in life. That even though I may not have suffered and have this tragic story that others have to say, I have seen it and I have lived through others' eyes. And I think at that point is when it hit me that if I don't do something for women, and especially why women in technology, was the feeling was that technology is going to be everywhere. And if the person who's going to design and who's going to develop your technology is not really, representative of the women also, I mean, it means that then that technology is not effective. And so I said, okay, this means that's where my life purpose was heading. Fortunately, I had a preview to it by starting a not-for-profit here. But then when I started WeQuity, it was, I had this surprising conversation with a VC, and he's a friend. He was telling me that, you know what, when you started WeQuity, it gave me that indication that you have your true purpose in life, because now you're putting your own money, your own effort, and your own resources to develop this. You're really putting your money where your mouth is. Earlier, you're doing it all on someone else's cost, on someone else's benefit. But now when you're saying you've started WeQuity for Women in Tech, it means you really have committed yourself completely to this cause. And I think that, I mean, I don't think all of y'all will, okay, I see a question popping up. How to set those priorities in your life. We'll just come to it now. Once you have your goals ready and you've got this purpose in life, the next one is to set your priority in life, right? And the priority setting is from day to day to day, because today I have so many transactional things that I need to do, and some of my strategic ones to achieve those goals. So I have to separate that. They have the top ones are my goal oriented things that I have to do, and the other ones are those things that I have to do in the morning. It's a transactional, and now thanks to everything that's happening to us, we have to cook and clean and do online classes and whatnot. So those are the transactional things, may not help me achieve my goal, but those are certain things that we have to do. But look at this top and see that you ensure that you do something every day that helps you reach closer and closer to your goal. It could be signing up for all those fantastic e-learning courses that are being offered free. It could be talking to someone. It could be putting together your thoughts in a Word document, but prioritize and see what is it that you need to do. And the minute you know that that is not relevant towards your goal, I don't think you should be doing it. It's a hard decision because sometimes we get caught into that loop of transactional stuff all the time, and you know you're so focused on something and you say, oh God, I never did anything towards that. And so you have to prioritize and focus. And this little last pointy that I have on mine is evaluate, because sometimes there are life events that happen that will make you change your awareness of self. It'll make you change the goals you set. It'll change your whole well-being. And that sometimes you just have to sometimes that evaluation allows you to change your priorities, because it could be like, you know, you were investing in the stock market, all your money got wiped out, then your priorities might change and you might want to look for financial independence. Or it might be that, you know, you suddenly discovered when you did all these free courses that, hello, I don't want to be an engineer. I mean, I have this example at Infosys where we had a colleague in our internet consulting team who was actually an MBBS doctor. He studied and he came and was part of our team. So his somewhere he woke up to the fact that, you know, I don't want to be a doctor, but I'm doing problem solving and diagnosis, but it's not on a human being, but it's on computers. So he came and he reset his goals and he became then a programmer. So that evaluation can happen. Sometimes it's because you get aware of yourself. I mean, not all of us are like the Buddha, but if you got that awareness and decide then that you want to you know, do pranic healing, or you want to do something that's totally different from the run of the mill, then that evaluation might change that thing. So this thing is like a continuous loop that's happening in terms of nothing can be set in stone. And sometimes I think if there's no clarity on that higher vision, then your dreams and your memories start merging, and then your dreams never get fulfilled. So you have to constantly evaluate to see, is this the right thing for me at any point of time? So then, you know, I always love to, you know, have acronyms so that people can go back and say, you know, at least I learned this when I go back, and that's WASP, which is your well-being, your awareness of yourself. You have to set your goals, you have to prioritize, and you have to evaluate, and the cycle keeps continuing. And I have deliberately taken about half an hour of your time, mainly because I want to open it up more for questions. So you can unmute your phones or unmute your microphone and ask those questions, because one of the greatest things about asking questions is you learn from people, right? Because sometimes, you know, oh, I would have asked that question. I didn't know how to frame it properly. Or, yeah, that question and that answer resonates with me. So I think more than someone just having this monologue and talking, it's always best to open up for questions. So if someone has questions, whoever asked about priorities, was your question answered?
Geetha, there's a question in the chat box which asks you
I
whether.
can't hear you too well.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat box which
Yeah,
asks
I'm just looking at that. Yeah.
whether this economic crisis affects IT field in India.
Okay.
Do you like to answer it?
Of course I would. Okay, so there are two things that are happening at this moment with the entire virus-driven economic crisis, right? There are certain industries that have benefited hugely from it, especially the healthcare industry, and there are and the e-commerce essential, you know, the big basket kind of folks. But at the same time, you there used to be a saying in economics where they said if China sneezes, the world catches a cold. So, more than a sneeze has happened, right? So definitely the rest of the world is going to catch a cold. So two things are going to happen with it. One, some of the industries that are growing from a home front and is needed from the global front will still be growing at probably the double the rate, and it's probably going to struggle to even manage that growth. The other side is those good to have kind of things that they would like to do, all those kind of things will just disappear. And with that disappearance, the IT industry will get hit, and in a way that might result in layoffs, it might result in things. And I think I urge you then, you have to look at your technical skills, look at things that you can do at that time and not get disheartened. But both aspects will happen. And you've seen, some of them have laid off people, some of them haven't. But as far as I can see from talking to my colleagues who are heading the IT companies, it's all in a wait and watch mode at this moment, because the global world hasn't come back saying that, listen, I don't want to do any more systems development out, and I'm not going to outsource to India anymore. That hasn't happened yet. So still a wait and watch mode is happening, but we'll get to know that very soon, what's going to really happen.
Thank you, Geetha.
Yeah, so I think I have another one saying, how do you balance technical skills and leadership? And how do I balance both of them? Um, um, I think it's very much like anything else you balance in life. I mean, if you have of some of us are more tuned into the leadership side of things, and some of us are more tuned into the technical side of things. So I would urge you to probably focus on your strengths at this point, especially during this kind of crisis, and then step out of your comfort zone and learn the other things once you've focused on your strength. So I don't think you have to balance technical and leadership, but I am of the opinion that even if you take a leadership role, you cannot ignore your technical skills, because unfortunately, you can get a holistic perspective only if you have both the technical and the leadership aspect to it. So you can't ignore both, but work on your strengths today and then work on things that are not in your comfort zone a little later. So then it'll help you balance the two. And another question is, qualification enhancement, is it the only way to reach leadership role, especially in teaching profession? I'm probably not qualified to answer this, but I think there are certain UGC guidelines that have come out that says, yeah, you have to do your whatever PhD, and then only you can get into a leadership role, or you have to think. And you must look at it also from a very perspective of, the University Grants Commission and others who run your colleges is saying, how else do I define? I mean, in the industry, you can say, okay, you are an engineer, you've done your MBA, so you can qualify immediately to become a leader or a manager. But how does that happen in a leadership, in a teaching context? It's best as if you know the subject so well and you have that qualification for it. So I'm not qualified to answer it, but I just feel that that's probably the reason and the justification why that you might have to have an enhancement in your qualifications if you really want to be head of the department, or you want to become the principal of that college. And how do you measure your performance at work? There are two ways to measure it. One is when I go to bed at night. I mean, I'm digressing here, but when I was very young, I was in the US, and we had an American lady taking care as a nurse of my grandmother. And she used to tell me there are three things that you have to do every day. Okay. The first one is you have to brush your teeth before you go to bed. Of course, oral hygiene. Now I understand it's connected to your heart and all that kind of thing. That's first one. The second one, she said, is you have to have a bath before you go to bed. And not many in India follow this, but I still follow it. Why, she said, is to wash off the days, all those negative thoughts, all that, has been troubling you during the day. Of course, your dirt too, but it washes off everything in that shower that you have. And the third thing that she said is you must pray. Um, all of us may not be religious, but she said you must pray in the sense that you just get into a space where you say these are all the positive things that has happened in my day. And I think that's the way I would measure my performance, is that how much I have contributed towards my own goal. And how do I measure performance at work? I mean, there are enough productivity tools out there, but definitely if someone is telling you working from 9 to morning to 9 to evening is not working, is not performance. And so I believe in work smart, deliver promised results, and don't give over expectations out and then underachieve. It's always better to have lower expectations and overachieve, and that's better to measure your performance. Should we have a mentor? So I mean, all of us, I'm sure on the call there are many others who would have thrived with mentorship, and mentoring, as I told you, is a help for this. You know, if you want to point this at someone and who will help you, is probably a mentor who will, sit down with you, look at your life goals, look at what you can achieve, and probably tell you in no uncertain terms that this is who you are and help you get there. So this is that finger pointing person could be your mentor. And I think identifying a mentor who, in two ways. One is you can always go into all these applications like LinkedIn and identify a mentor. And or you can reach out to people who you see in your daily life, and you can say that this is the person I see every day and I really think that they are role models and an inspiration. You can reach out to those people also as mentors. So you can start. Will every mentoring relationship that you identify, will it be successful? It may not, but you will definitely learn from that experience. You'll know what you have. So if you are young, old, whatever, it's always beneficial to have a mentor. So again, I have another question up here about the education sector. And I'm not going to answer it because I don't know if the education sector gets morphed for new environmental development, but I'm hoping that the environment is something that all the educational institutions are considering, in terms of environmental friendly, in terms of, how do you manage your waste? How do you make sure less electricity and all those kind of things is being done? There are some students on the call who are who want some tips, who are planning for their bright future. I love the optimism of this person, and I love the name because I meet so many people who are of the same name. So congratulations to you for being so optimistic about the bright future. Yes, there is definitely a bright future ahead of you. And if people ask me at this time, that if uh, is this a bright future for all students who are coming out? I'm just saying, don't get disheartened. This is all temporary. Everything is temporary. I was just watching the rains from my window in Bangalore, and it just sheets of rain was pouring down, right? And I was thinking, will this stop before my call? Because I'm worried, no, that my video would not work, my Wi-Fi would just die. But that was temporary. It passed on. So everything like that is temporary. It'll move on. So yes, there will be a bright future for you. Some tips. I think you should reach out to people who can help you get a job. So look out for those people. It need not be just going through social media and trying to link up with people. It can also be within your own family network. Look at to your alumni to see where they're working and see what they can do, and also start reading on what are the things that people are looking for, right? If it's like you're looking for something in the data science space, look for what exactly are they looking for and try to see if you can do something specific in that. If you can intern even for free, it'll be worth the effort, because you look at it from a person who's hiring. Every student looks the same, right? I mean, you've done college education, you've done your engineering, you've done this, you've done, what is the difference that you bring to the table has to come out very clearly in that resume that you put out, right? and so you have to have some things that you need to put in that resume. And I would suggest that you start from day one of you entering college. What are all the things that I can collect and put in my resume that will make me different? Because if you are different and stand out, then only you can get a job and be noticed from a resume angle. And once after that, prepare yourself for technical interviews, and then group discussions. But keep on preparing, practicing, learning, never stop. Don't you think weakness analysis is equally important? Okay, thank you for asking that question. The focus is on strength, because your sense of purpose comes from what you are strong at. And it always is, the weaknesses that I love to call as areas for improvement are things that probably hinder you from reaching where you want to reach. So you have to look at your weaknesses from the perspective of how can you turn them into strengths. So weakness analysis in a way is only after you analyze your strength and come to your self-awareness and then your purpose in life. And then you say, what are the things that deter me from my purpose? One of those things is your weakness, which again, you can get help from someone outside there. And there are enough quizzes out there online that teach you both your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, while I wait for some more questions to come, I'd probably like to share with you one of my learnings through life has been learning, right? It has stood me in good stead, because I have made sure that I kept on learning through whatever jobs that I've taken and things like that. And if you look at my career that spanned working in a woolen mill in Thane in Maharashtra to coming to Bangalore. When I came to Bangalore, I got this job at Wipro, and they said, if you are going to be a product executive, that means you get a product. And Wipro in those days used to be a reseller of software products. So they got this product, and they made me a product executive of a database product. And they said, learn all about it, go and teach all the resellers how they can use it, what programming can be done. So I started learning then. And I think at every point in my career, I think learning has stood me in good stead, because it has also taught me that there is no time. It's like a treadmill of life. I don't know those of you who read Alice in Wonderland, but the Queen says no, that if you want to stay in the same place, you have to run that much faster. And life is like that. Again, it's all about my differentiation. Why should even a boss choose me for a particular project versus someone else? It's all about your differentiation, whether it comes to your technical skills or your leadership. And one of the things that has stood me in good stead is that everybody has learned and knew of the fact that I was such a quick learner. Whether I could give you lessons on anthropology and also could teach you Java. Right. And now I've got a question here, so I can stop boring you about my life. How important are soft skills to manage professional and personal life? Okay, I have this friend's daughter who is brilliant in school. She comes first in class and everything. She's very good and neat and tidy and everything, but she has like all the soft skills of being very organized, very thing. But one of the things is she doesn't open her mouth at all. Now, when she was a kid, and the school, was small, and then she was recognized for the fact that she had academic excellence. But as she went, from school to college and beyond, that wasn't good enough, right? So you have to have the soft skills in terms of how do you present, how do you speak, how do you organize your thoughts in such a way that someone else can understand. How is it that you can interact in a team? How do you delegate to people? How is it that you can influence people without influencing them? All those are very, very essential if you really want, because unfortunately, whether you're in college or you're in the corporate space, academic or corporate, you have to dance what I call the political dance. And that's very hard not to do if you're not very good in your soft skills, right? You might, there are few people that, you will excuse by saying, they're technically brilliant, so it's okay, but that's very, very rare. They're like, it's 1% in that whole thing. And, it's, if you belong to that 1%, congratulations. But otherwise, all of us people in the 99% have to really focus a lot on our soft skills also. Now I have a question. As in difficult times with no drive to move on, how do you regroup when all things look bleak? Is there something that can help you? Yeah, like 3 things to do to help. Yeah. And I can sense the feeling. The person who's asking the question, I can feel for you, because when we started with this whole lockdown, it came at a time when at least personally I was grocery less. I had like no rice, no atta in the house variety, and domestic. Our apartment decided that no domestic help should come in, and somehow we were tacked in as a red zone, so no home delivery was allowed, right? So nobody came to deliver anything. So you were just like stuck there, and suddenly kids, it was like everybody vying for the bandwidth in terms of Wi-Fi, in terms of, it was like, how do I manage all this kind of thing? And it did look bleak at that point. Another time that it looked bleak is sometimes when you quit your job and go to a new job, and you find that that new job is worse than your old job, and you say, what can I do? And the 3 things, since you wanted 3 things for you to help, is one is you should reach out to your network. You'll be amazed how they will help you regroup. This could be your school network, it could be your college network, it could be people you've met otherwise, but that network, I'm telling you, has strength and has given jobs to so many people, has given motivation to so many people. The second thing that you should do is you should look at your mental well-being at this point. And I don't mean that you have to turn religious or anything. You can do something as, as mindfulness. You can do something like doing movement meditation. It could be meditation, it could be anything, but look at your mental well-being, because that is so important for you even to talk to people. And thirdly, I think you should keep a journal and write down what exactly would you do if things didn't turn bleak, and try to see what and all you can do now to achieve those things that you wanted to do when you know that things didn't look bleak. So reach out to people in your network, focus on your mental well-being, keep a journal as to the things that you want to do and how you can focus on it. And now you're asking who's your inspiration. Everyone is my inspiration. I mean, it seems a cliched way of saying that, but sometimes I come across people and they inspire me in some aspect of the way that they have handled their lives. I met we had invited a speaker for our conference at Equity from Midfluence, and she brought her mother along, who actually was from, her mother's name is Anuradha from DRDO, and she was a scientist at that time, and long before all of us were like even thinking of science, she achieved something being part of DRDO. So it was like, it was just an inspiration just to meet her. And you can find inspiration from, I have my cousin's 5-year-old thing who has deep intellectual conversations with me, asking me, why are strawberries having their seeds outside and not inside? And you think, where does he get the brain to even think like that, right? So it's like, who, anyone can inspire you. And I think it's like real positive thinking if you can just look around for inspiration that it's out there. During post-COVID, this is another question. During post-COVID, which type of industries may be of high demand so that students can enhance their knowledge in this area? It does look like it's healthcare, and it looks like e-commerce, But not to say that I did get a message from my friend in one of the leading financial institutions who's heading it here in India, and she was telling me that they are actually hiring. So financial analysts are still being hired. So with it's still wait and watch, as I told you, in the industry, but two of the things I definitely know would, from my personal experience, is that the whole e-commerce domain um, and the whole ways of providing technology for you to have remote access. Now I know that I shouldn't be saying, but even WebEx or Zoom or all those things are people are hiring, because those are all the technology that will help you work from home. The next question is, how do you manage to say no when you're loaded with multiple tasks that due to your efficiency? Do we cater to all of them or maintain your quality of work? Well, it's a difficult question, because to say no is the most difficult thing that is, I can tell you, is very difficult. I mean, I find it very hard to say no even now. But if you have your purpose in life and your goals really set out, it's very hard, very easy to say, you know what, I can't take this risk now, because I'm sorry, I can't do it for you now. I think if you do have friends in the Western world, they do it so nicely, politely, and so well. And I think if you can learn from that of how to say no without being, nasty about it, is one of the things that is how I learned it from my dear friends in the US. And at no time should you allow your quality of work to suffer because I give you an assigned task only because I know you will efficiently and effectively deliver it. So you should, if it is going to affect the quality of your work, you should learn to say no. And I urge you to say no. It might be difficult, but you can apologize later for it, but it's too much on my plate. I just can't say I can't do it now. The next question is, according to you, what are some to-do things to get out of your comfort zone? Well, a dear friend brought it up. One of the things that you can come out of your comfort zone is really doing your self strength and areas for improvement analysis, where then you can look at things that you have to work on in terms of the weaknesses, and then that helps you one way to step out of your comfort zone. Another way to step out of your comfort zone is I mean, let's be frank, all of us know what are the things that we like doing and what we don't like doing. And so probably dedicating a little bit of time to do something that you don't like doing, or something that you have fear of, is probably another way that you can do it. So there are two ways to do it. Do that analysis either online or physically once the lockdown goes away, and then work on ways that you can increase or reduce your areas for improvement and convert them into strengths. Or for a fact in your mind what are the things that, all of us know what are the things that you hate to do and you want to do it. So sometimes it might be like you don't want to talk to someone. It could be as easy as that. Just picking up the phone and calling them and asking them how's their day might be a way to get out of your comfort zone, helps you practice your soft skills on how to talk to people, how to listen, how to engage. So we have probably a time for one more question, or
There is a question on decision. Can I read it for you, Geeta? How
okay,
to
I
take
think
quick and effective decision. I'll always be in an ambiguity between choices I have. Sometimes even I miss opportunities because of the delay in decision making. Your opinion on this?
is it a delay in decision of someone else's or your
No,
own?
no, my own decision. How to take quick and effective decision. I'll always be in an ambiguity between the choices I have.
Yeah.
Sometimes even I miss the opportunity because of the delay in decision making.
Yeah. Oh, it happens to all of us. We procrastinate. And I think another problem that comes out of that decision making tree is also the fact that we get 2020 vision after it's all over, right? And we say, oh, if we had only done it the other way. And I say, yeah, in life, if we could do what if statements and figure it out, life would be easy, but it's not. But one thing that's worked well for me is that Jeff Bezos actually came up with this, saying that when you take a decision and you say yes or no to it, the one barometer that you can say is like, later on, will you ever regret not having done it? Or will you regret for having done it? Okay, so I'll give you an example. When I started equity, I mean, I was in a very comfortable position, doing what I thought was purpose in my life, and someone else was funding the cost. Someone else was paying me for it. So when I took this difficult decision of going to and starting equity on my own, one of the things that that I took was, if I don't do it now, would I be unhappy for the rest of my life? Because of course, as you know, I'm 30 years in the industry. There are certain things. I mean, J.K. Rowling wrote her book in her late 40s, but all of us are not as successful as her, right? But if I do it later on in life, will I have this energy, right? Would I have this ability to keep on continuing doing this? And so I took that decision on thinking, will I regret it? And I said, yes, I will regret it. So then I took that decision. Let me start equity because I want to focus on role models and inspiring people around. I want to focus on collaboration. I want to focus on something that is unique, which no other organization is looking at, because everybody is saying give equal opportunity, equal opportunity. I'm saying equal opportunity is not good enough. Every one of us is different. So we have to give different opportunities. So you need equity to reach equality. So I said, if I don't do that now, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. So that one question can help you change that ambiguity into a little bit of certainty. Any advice for senior leaders for work-life balance? Well, this is a question that's been plaguing, I think, centuries of how we manage everything, but a couple of things that you can do. One is, I mean, India, especially the IT industry, has grown only because a lot of outsourcing has happened, right? So outsource as much as you can. I mean, prioritize. There are certain things that are not essential for you to do yourself. So prioritize, send them out, outsource it to someone else to do for you, right? And of course, one little footnote there is, don't be so fussy when you're outsourcing that it'll be done the same way that you want it to be done. Right? You can coach them, guide them to make them do it the same way that you do, but outsource and be free of that for a little while. The second thing besides outsourcing is you will be amazed that if you ask people in your own network, your neighbor, your people at your family members for help, they'll be more than willing to provide it for you. It's only sometimes we don't ask and they think, oh God, she's a superwoman, she can handle it. She seems competent enough. She's doing it every day. So what's the problem, right? So, so sometimes you have to allow your vulnerability to be seen. You don't have to be a superwoman or a superman or anybody. So you just can ask someone for help. And then you'll be amazed that people will come out and help you. The third aspect is if you can, I mean, we've done it now very effectively where we brought the work home and the home to work kind of thing. If there is that little bit of blur that has happened today where you get joy in both sides, I think that is something that we have to work on, in which this whole thing of staying at home has really opened my eyes to, is that when those two merge and you see both of them in the same eye, you don't see what's in need of balancing. You somehow do everything together, and whether it's work or life or the family thing that's happening. So that's my advice. I think we finished. Have I missed out any questions?
I don't think so. Maybe you wanted to play the video?
I don't. I'm not going to risk it, Sujata.
Okay.
So I'm going to just tell you about the video. So I was telling you about Kung Fu Panda, and so there is a if I wish I could share the video, but I'm just a little scared that my technology is going to back up on me. Is that um, the whole thing is that what has happened in your past should not define who you are too much, because there's a whole present that is happening, and that present should define who you are in the future. And that's why they call it the present, because it's a gift that's given to you. So I wanted to leave you with that thought, that the present that's happening today is actually a gift that's given to you. And if you work on yourself during this time, your future will be definitely bright.
Puneet sir, just trying to check if our chair, Mr. Puneet Mishra, is on the line so that he could conclude. I'm just trying to check with him.
Sure.
Puneet sir? I think there are no more questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's-
please, sir.
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sujata, and thank you, Dr. Kannan, Geetha Kannan. It was
You'll have to
really-
give me that doctorate degree. I don't have a doctorate.
No,
I
I
wish
think
I had.
your experience is more than a doctorate, so that's why I feel that there are multiple universities they may be willing to give you honorary doctorate. So there is no doubt on that. Yes. So it was a really awesome presentation from your end, and we are really thrilled to have your views on so many topics and how nicely you have summarized that one should be willing to take up the responsibility. And the most important thing is that what you have told, that at right time you have to take the decision that yes, this is the point when I cannot go beyond. I have to do this job at this point of time. So that instant that you told that you started your equity at that moment, and you thought that this is the right time to start it. So that kind of attitude development is very, very important, whether it is a men or woman. And second important thing is that self-confidence. Yes, I can do it. So that kind of confidence only comes when we listen and see the example set by leaders like you. So I hope the people who are attending this will be definitely benefited, and that fear factor what is there among all of us, we will be hesitating that whatever you have told in the beginning of your slide, that we should be knowing our capabilities, but there is a doubt. So we don't know where exactly how much we can do it. So most important thing is knowing ourselves or somebody else is there. I always tell about that Ramayana story when Jamwan told about Hanuman that you can do it, you can cross really ocean. So either we need somebody who can tell us that yes, this is your capability, or by experience and by your own learnings, one should understand that yes, we can do it. And that kind of capability comes only when we will listen, attend, meet, travel people like you. Then only it is possible. And I'm really happy that we are able to have you on our platform. And I can see more than 125, 150 people they have attended. You can see at the end of the program, even questions and answers were going on. Almost 113 people are there. So thank you very much, and I hope that we will be in physical meeting also. We will be able to invite you at some point of time. And because there is a lockdown going on, and everything we have moved it to virtual, so that's why these webinars were there. And we are planning to have something kind of a woman in engineering global summit. We are planning in October or December. So if we are able to do physical meeting, then we will like to invite you for that also.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. And IEEE would also like to collaborate with Equity. Let us see how we can go ahead. And because diversity and inclusion, we are also taking up at a very, very higher level. And this year we have formed a women in engineering committee, rather than it used to have only one post where WI chair was being appointed. But this year we have taken initiative under WI chair. At least 20 women engineers are also there, those who are supporting WI committee. So we have formed that post, one post to a committee post. So there is a full team which they all are very, very enthusiastic, and that zeal, what is there in you, I can see the same zeal is available in those people, and they want to prove themselves. Yes, they can do it, and they can do it much better. So we need your collaboration in those areas as well, and we will be happy to have you again in our at our platform, either this year or next year, depending upon how situation goes.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for your kind words. And yeah, and I'm open. So connect with me on LinkedIn. So you don't let the questions die down here. You can always continue asking. I do answer and connect with anyone on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to collaborate with IEEE, because one of the things, the pillars of equity is that we believe in collaboration, because me doing anything on my own, I'm not going to achieve much. The more I collaborate, the more we can really create true social impact. So yes, I look forward to that.
Thank you. So I think, Sujata, you can conclude now, and because already we have taken a lot of precious time of.
No, my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you, Geetha. Thank you, all participants. Even now, Geetha, we have 110 participants with us.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
And your talk was extremely inspirational. It has reinforced a lot of confidence and motivation to all of us. I'm sure we'll take up from here and grow much bigger and larger along with you in terms of our intellectual capability as well as in terms of our managerial skills. Thank you so much, Geetha.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the participants, we will have the next session tomorrow at the same time. Dr. Lisa, she is the IEEE WIE chair. She is going to speak on women in engineering, IEEE women and men using their diverse talents to innovate for the benefit of humanity. So let's all meet tomorrow at 7 o'clock again. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good
Stay
night.
home.
Good night.
Stay safe.